as long as you believe in the work and do the work.
But first of all, I don't want to be your poster child.
Solidarity is critical to getting this done. Allies are important.
Show me that I provide value to the business.
Is just one more way that some have tried to diminish, dismiss, and disavow the reality of systemic racism.
Be with us in crisis as well as celebration, but be consistent about it. Okay, Janet, here's something that a lot of our folks run into on a regular basis that we need to help them on. We are positioning ourselves, especially since COVID, as consultants to our leaders, advisors, strategic advisors. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to creating inclusive messaging for our leaders, making it more inclusive, making it more visually representative, whatever it may be, how do we make sure that we are approaching our leaders in a way that our recommendations are being heard and they're not overriding and going back to what they already know, rather than making sure that we are being inclusive in our language?
Well, I think it starts with the fact that you can't advise anybody on what they should do unless you've educated yourself on what the right thing to do is. So step one is, as communicators, we have a responsibility and an opportunity, but primarily a responsibility to be educated ourselves. We should be using inclusive language. We should be following the inclusive language guides. If we're not writing them, we should at least be following them. We should be aware of what the different perspectives are. We should make sure that we are getting input from different perspectives, because that's part of our job, is to be a resource to our leaders. Now, there's the old, statement that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, at the end of the day, depending on where you are in the organization, depending on your access to leaders, depending on how many levels you have to shout up to get something done, you may or may not be able to really have an influence directly on leaders. But you know what the best way is to learn? You screw up. So if you are the voice, and it may sometimes be that lone voice in the wilderness that is out there saying the right things, and they're the right things because you've educated yourself, you've paid attention, you've made the connections, you've used a depth model to figure out what you should and should not be saying and how you should step into things. You've done all that. If you are in the position where what you're saying is right, they may not hear you the first time. They may not hear you the second time, but you know when they'll hear you? When they screw up, because they didn't listen to you that first time. And it's amazing. It's amazing how open people get when they have to go recover from something. So you just make sure that you're doing the right thing. And you also have to be willing to not be afraid. I mean, our job is to say the quiet stuff out loud sometimes. We have to be unafraid and therefore confident in our positions so that we can then exude and share and deliver that confidence to our leaders and let them know that if we say it, we've done the work, and that they can be comfortable listening to what we say.
And leaders have not gotten to that position over the last decade or 2 decades because they're awesome at DEI. They're in over their heads. So, kind of looking at it from an empathetic and a compassionate case, where they're in over their heads. They're used to having all the answers. They don't have answers about DEI. They do need us, and they need to come from a place of being coachable, and they need to listen, because you are doing the work. And thank you for doing the work. Thank you, Janet, for doing the work.
Thank you for doing the work, Kim.